Welcome to Positive Talk Radio. We're glad you're here. I'm Kevin McDonald, your host for this grand adventure, and I thank you for joining us. You see, our mission is to create a positive, personal connection to all things with courage and love. We invite terrific guests, interesting topics, and great conversation, all in a fun, entertaining way. And we always manage to learn something, too. So I hope you will stay right where you are for this episode of Positive Talk Radio. And welcome everybody to Positive Talk Radio. It's a Monday afternoon. Eric Hall is joining me today for this episode because he didn't believe it either.
I thought you sent me. I thought it was a typo.
Yeah, so did I when I first read that. By the way, our guest this hour is, and I'm probably going to massacre your last name, so don't take it personally. Shanti Henderson.
Hershenson.
I knew it.
Hershenson.
I can't even when I practice it, I can't even get it.
Think Hershey bar.
Yeah.
In the past tense, rather than Hershey, Hershen, and then son. Hershenson.
Oh, I wish I'd have thought of that before.
Hershey bar had a son.
And Shanti, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, we're doing really good. I'm excited to talk to you, as is Eric, because you've done something that is pretty extraordinary for somebody your age. First of all, you just turned 14. When's your birthday?
October 15th.
Oh,
so exactly a month ago.
Yeah. Sorry we missed it. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Now you've done something that I don't know that I've ever heard of before. You've written 12 books and 7 of them have been published.
Yeah, I get it. I get told a fair amount of times that it's like, that's unheard of. And I don't know, to me, it's like normal. So it's like, I don't exactly register that it's different in any way, though sometimes it's like, I'll be like, wait, I'm cool.
Yeah. Yes, you are. When did you start writing?
So I've been writing I've loved writing since I was young, but I think I really started writing kind of in the middle of the pandemic when I was just sad. I was missing all my friends and extracurricular activities. And I just sat down and I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to write a novella. Actually, I didn't think I could write a whole book, and it did not turn out to be a novella. It turned out to be this 200,000 word, 800-page novel that I had to split into 3 books, and that's kind of where it all started.
Really? during COVID.
Yeah.
So this was recent.
Mm-hmm. I was 12 when I started writing it, and then I think I turned 13 around the same time I finished the first draft and started editing it because I had to add a bunch of scenes because I did not like the first draft at all. The first draft was around 100,000 words, and there was so much more I wanted to add that I kind of missed. So I went back and I edited it, and over the course of about 2 months, maybe 3 months, I ended up writing this giant new draft, and it just I still can't really figure out how I've done it. I've written a bunch more novels since then, but I cannot figure out how I managed to get 200,000 words as opposed to like 100,000 words, which would be a little more.
I don't even know if I've spoken 200,000 words in my life.
First of all, are you really a 40-year-old and a 13-year-old? The thing there, I don't understand. That is just absolutely amazing to me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I can't really wrap my head around it myself.
Yeah. What are your books, or what was the 200,000 word book about?
So it was an alien invasion dystopian novel, and it takes place 30 years after an alien invasion, where the aliens have essentially taken over the world, and they've built these biomes for the humans to live. And there are things, I think there's like a dozen of them, and they're like the dark forest biome or the grasslands, and the humans, when they turn 13, are sorted into these biomes. And it follows a couple different characters and a couple different point of views, along with the villain's point of view too. and the villain's this really cool guy, but I can't get into that without spoiling the book. But
This is
and it kind of
fantastic.
follows these teenagers as they struggle to survive in the biomes with sickness and eventually like want to travel and kind of break free of the biomes and free their world. But of course, that can't happen without lots of death and sacrifice.
Wow.
That is now. How long were you imagining this before you put it down on paper?
So I think it must have been a few months earlier. This is really funny, but my sister and I were playing a game of Minecraft together, and we came up with this world because there are different biomes in Minecraft, and we were like, just came up with this like game with these different biomes. I don't remember the exact details of it, but I do think a part of that, and I really do kind of somewhat credit my sister for part of this idea, was that like, okay, there are these biomes and you can only stay in one, and then that slowly developed into alien invasion and all of this crazy stuff that happens in that book.
So now, did you write a sequel to that one?
So what happened with Biome Lock was it was so long that I kind of split it into 3 different parts. The first one's out. It's 50,000 words ish. I had to split into 3 books after cutting down some scenes, and it's about 250 pages. And it's only like the beginning of their story where the main character Griffin has a lot of like, he essentially falls ill, and it takes the role of Kira as she like travels to get the sickness and like the cure to his sickness, and meets a lot of people and has a lot of secrets herself that she's hiding. And then there's a sequel to that book, which is the next part of their journey, and the third, which is significantly longer than the other 2. It's about 100,000 words, and that one is where like everything kind of really picks up. And then I last summer I wrote a 4th Biome Lock book, which is kind of after the events close. It's like, guess what? It's not done yet. And that one was pretty cool, but that one needs some work. So
Wow.
So you've got not a trilogy, but a quadrilogy or something. So you got 4 books.
I think it's going to be like a sequel trilogy.
Terrific.
Wow.
Sounds like you got a strong handle on this. How old is your sister?
I have a twin sister, so she's also 14.
Twins? Wow.
Wow. What's it like to be a twin, by the way?
It's honestly, it's good for writing inspiration. It's also, I think, being a twin's awesome because I have someone who's the same age as me who we do share some interests. And it's like pretty much having a best friend who's always with you, and like you can't lose your best friend, kind of.
Yeah.
Do you guys finish each other's sentences and stuff like that? I've heard that's big.
It's like not really, but we do. We have like shared like similar thoughts and stuff, but I don't think we really finish each other's sentences that much. It's like twin connections definitely seldomly a real thing.
That is just awesome. So was that the first book you've written? You've got 12 in the catalog. 7 are on Amazon. What was the first book that you wrote?
The first book I wrote is like kind of Biome Lock. I wrote these 2 really short. They're pretty much short stories, but they're combined with lore and poems and stuff. And I wrote them with my friend in the beginning of 6th grade. I don't like them. They're so outdated now that it's like embarrassing to think about. But it's like I've been writing short stories, and I used to like bind together pages and write children's books. I do think the first book I technically wrote was Biome Lock, though I ended up, before the first Biome Lock book was published, I had already published several books before that. So that's kind of chaotic, but those were more novellas.
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, so tell me about the publishing process. You got the book written and you're feeling good about it, and it's time to get it out there. What process did you go to get that done?
So what I use self-publishing, because I think it would be really stressful for me right now to have to query a bunch of agents and kind of go through that process of rigorously editing my book till it fits the publisher's standards, especially because I'm still 14 and I got school to worry about and writing my next books. But for now, I use self-publishing, and I use 2 platforms to do that. I use KDP for the paperbacks and ebooks, and it's Kindle Direct Publishing, so they distribute to Amazon. And then I have hardcovers now, and for those, I use Ingram Spark, where I kind of put it through this distribution process, and I get it into like different catalogs and bookstores. And one of my hardcovers is on BarnesandNoble.com right now, and that was really cool.
Dynamite. So are you concerned about marketing at this point?
I mean, so I do a lot of marketing. I've learned to use the app TikTok for my marketing, and Instagram is another one that I started to use, but then they changed their advertising process, and I kind of had to pull my marketing from there. And I use also, this is the really coolest part. I use these websites where basically I can have my books discounted on Amazon for a bit. And these websites, I'll kind of submit my book to them, and they'll for a small fee, they'll kind of blast it out to their subscribers as a discounted book, and it'll completely like boost the sales of my books like insanely. Like I sold 4,000 books in one day, and I had 3 different books on sale that day, and each of them sold around 1,000 copies. One of them sold 1,500 for like a really discounted price, which is kind of sad because I didn't make enough, but it was still really cool, and I was freaking out.
That is fantastic.
Do you realize that the average author sells the average book and they're at maybe 200 copies for the entire book?
Mhm.
And you are
You're already way ahead of the curve.
you're going to be really, really prolific. What now? I know that you also do poems, and you
Mhm.
also do you go to various places, cafes and stuff on their
Oh, good.
their night out, or I'm not sure what you call it. Their well, yeah,
Open
I'll
mic
ask you.
nights.
What do you call it? Yeah, the open
What?
night night, open
Open
mic
it.
nights, open mic nights.
Oh,
Yeah,
I dig that. I dig that. How do
how's
you
that?
like doing that?
Mhm. It's really fun. It's also really nerve-wracking, but it's one of my favorite things.
Now, who got you into that? Are your parents writers? Are they performers, artists of some
I
type?
think my mom's kind of a performer. My mom used to be a magician, and that was also really because she used to do the
Really?
magic, like magic shows for birthday parties, and perform a lot. And my dad's not really a performer. I think I'm trying to think. So for the poems, I don't want to credit my school for it, but it's like we had to write a spoken word poem for a project in 6th grade, and we had to perform them. And I do think that was a good thing that came out of that. But it's like I've been writing poetry since the 4th grade. We had a poetry unit in the 4th grade, and I wrote about 10 poems that I bound into this book. I still have it somewhere, and the poems were all mediocre, but they were still like I'll go and read them sometimes, and I'm like kind of impressed with myself.
Wonderful. Do we get to hear some of your writing?
I could perform one of my poems, but it's kind of
Oh, we'd love that.
I could perform one,
Yes, please. Please, we'd love
and
that.
it's all right. So I'm trying to think which one do I want to do. So I can do Needles and Thorns, which is this kind of like call to action poem. It's a little sad, and it's about my school and bullying because I faced a lot of bullying. And this one I've kind of received the most like acclaim for. I feel like. So if you would like, I can do that.
That would be
That'd be
awesome.
wonderful. Yes.
All right. So here we go. These people don't listen. No, they refuse to hear. My cries for help, they were suffocated in fear. We're drowned with work, a transition that hurts. Instead to care for others, it's nowhere to be found. It's been going on all my life, but school changes, it transforms. From conflict to hatred, from telling to dying, I see people crying. The things they say, it sticks to me like the needles of a cactus. But maybe things are more horrifying than they seem, and it all feels like a bad dream. And who said it's just middle school? Because if it all is, I don't want any part of this. It's a story intertwined as they say it's all awful, something from the movies until it's all real. And words pile up like thorns in the desert, spoken from one person to another until they gather up and draw blood, forcing us all to wonder, why do we go to middle school? Just to suffer? When this is what it's like, with bullies and peer pressure and assignments that feel endless until I want to drop them in a deep crevice. But work drives the least of my worries. It's the cries I wonder about, making me think, does my voice count? Because these people don't listen. No, they refuse to hear, and I can't see a future that's not shrouded in fear. And I wrote that for a project in 7th grade.
That is excellent. I love the
Thank you.
metaphor with that. I love the metaphor with that.
It's I'm just sitting here in awe. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to have that much talent at that age.
My
Thank
goodness.
you.
This is astonishing. I don't think I've ever met. I consider you some sort of prodigy.
Thank you.
I've never met a writer prodigy. I've ran across young people who are excellent musicians or dancers, but you're the first literary person that I've run into at such a young age that has such a strong handle on language. And I'm curious now, since this poem was about bullying,
Mhm.
who would
So,
bully you?
um,
Who would
so
bully
in
you? I don't
sixth
get this.
grade, I went through really. I said both my sister and I went through really severe bullying. That like I don't know how much I could go into it. I wrote a book. It's a novel told in poetry, and it describes almost everything. There's a couple things that are really bad that I left out, but it goes over like everything, and it's a really dark. It's a wonderful book. Recently, I actually yesterday I received a new cover for the book, so now it's like looks like even better, and it's like I don't know the intentions of the person who bullied me, though I really do feel bad for them because of that. And it's some horrible stuff that I'm like still trying to both get over, though I do think it really helped me my writing. There's a lot of little like stuff in my writing and in my stories. They're kind of taken from that and inspired by that. And it's like I don't know. It's like I really wish it never happened to me, but at the same time, I'm kind of like I think it got me to where I am today, and like yeah.
Well, Shanti, you do know that bullies tend to be very insecure people who
Mhm.
are jealous and don't feel like they are as good as, and so they have to compensate by being mean. I'm sure your parents have talked to you about that.
Yeah. It's like for
Yeah.
this person, I'm not sure what the problem was. They've done this stuff to other people, and it gets like beyond like bullying at some point, but I'm not going to let this keep happening because I think my school in some ways has allowed it to happen, and I get that they're trying, but they're also not trying hard enough. So I'm trying to work within the school to make changes because there have been other incidents within my school that like are not even bullying and are really really bad, and I will continue to work to make that change instead of leaving the school.
Congratulations, and
Mm.
that is a great attitude to have about it, because this whoever this individual is has got to learn that bullying is not the way to go, because it's just
Mhm.
it's self-defeating, and they can't feel good about themselves because they're trying to put you down to make themselves feel better. They
Mhm.
need help.
Yeah. And it's yeah. And I've had like since I've had their friends come and attack me and be like, "No, they didn't do that to you. They didn't physically assault you. That never happened." And it's just like a nightmare. And I've had some of these people now come to me. I've had a lot of people come to me since I wrote the book about the bullying. It's called You Won't Know Her Name. And I've had a bunch of people come and like write me notes and slip them into my backpack, being like, I've had similar things happen to me. Like, thank you for writing this book. And it made me cry.
You,
No
you
doubt. No doubt you're helping people by putting those words out there. Um, I admire your strength, your
Thank you.
wisdom to see a path forward using these experiences. It's remarkable.
Now, I know it's hard to believe that both Eric and I were 14 at one time, but it's been so darn long ago. What's it like to be 14 in 2021?
So it's like a combination of like difficult, but also I think as a teenager, it is very hard to be a teenager, especially with I think a lot of societal pressures we have and in school. 'Cause, I mean, I always like my mind automatically goes to bullying, especially in middle school, because I'll admit it, it's a problem that happens to a lot of people. I've had friends tell me things have happened to them, like in different schools. And I think there's a lot of kind of pressure in like around 14-year-olds, but I also think it's like also kind of like I don't know, I like being 14, I like being a teenager. There's a lot of like because now it's like there's a lot of stuff happening. Like I'm starting to think about like my future career now, and that's like kind of cool. But like I've known what I wanted to be when I've grown up since like I was pretty young, and I wonder if you can guess what that is. But
Would you like
it's like I do
would you
think
like would you like to make writing a career?
yeah, of course. I think I either want to be. I'm still gonna for sure be writing books, or at least hopefully. And I think I also might want to be like a screenwriter and like write movies, kind of, and write the scripts of movies.
I got a question for you. Since you're a poet, Do you know who
Yeah.
Bernie Taupin is?
I think so. Wait, who? 'Cause I think I do.
His name is Bernie Taupin. He
Yeah.
met way back.
He writes the songs for Elton John.
Man, you're smart. I was gonna say that that he met a guy who could not write music to say or write lyrics to save his life, but he was a great musician, and that's Bernie Taupin hooked up with Elton John, and most of the greatest songs that Elton John ever sang were written by Bernie Taupin, and he lives in a very nice house now.
In 2019, I saw Elton John in concert.
Did you really?
Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
man.
saw him in 1975 in concert.
Oh, wow. I know my mom went when she was like 8, and that was her first concert.
Yeah, well, sadly, I think I'm old enough to be your mom. I'm old enough to be your great grandpa, I think, at this point. But now, what do your parents think of you and your work and your sister and all of that?
They're all really impressed, and they're super supportive about it, and they'll help me like I was preparing for this interview with my dad like all the time, and any like podcast interviews I'll have, my dad will help me prepare, and like my parents will. I'll sometimes let them read my writing. Sometimes I'll make them wait until it's published, which is mean. Or
Ooh.
I'll have them read it up until a point of like a giant cliffhanger, and then be like, your free trial has ended. You're gonna have to wait now.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I would love to interview your parents once.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
no.
remarkable.
Now,
This is
does your
remarkable.
sister write as well?
She's a pretty good writer. I don't know if she's as into writing as me, but she's written. I remember back in the middle of the pandemic, she wrote a really, really good, really scary short story because she's into horror. I do think she likes to write. She's a pretty good writer.
What's her main interest then?
So she's an aerialist, which is like aerial silks. It's really, really cool. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like they're the silks, and you like do tricks, kind of like
Yeah.
flip on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's also into forensic science.
Of course.
Mhm.
Wow. So she does it's basically gymnastics, holding on to these
Yeah, kind of like gymnastics
Cirque
in
du
the air, kind
Soleil
of.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So, where did you guys get this flair for? You said your mom was a musician, but your dad or a magician. Your dad wasn't really into that. Do you
Well,
have
my dad,
grandparents?
like my dad makes like songs sometimes. My dad like is kind of a musician too. I'm trying to think what my grandparents did. I feel like my grandfather writes. Not sure. Yeah, that's the only living grandparent I have. So
Well, Shanti, I have to ask you, and there has to be, with the number of books you have published and that you have in the pipeline, as it were, you must have a publisher that is seeking you, or an agent, or somebody that would like to talk to you about representing you. Do you have anybody coming around, or are they
I don't.
waiting to tell you?
I've had companies call me before, but they're like they want money in advance, and I'm not going to pay money. That's not the way to do it. I'm starting to think about like approaching publishers, like with my one of the books I wrote, which was my 12th. That one I might try to get an agent for because it's like one of my best works, I think. But it needs a significant amount of work.
Well, you've been writing for so many years.
Yeah.
I know how tough it.
Yeah.
I can
Difficult
tell
to
you
find
this.
the time.
I can tell you this. You want my advice? An agent will come calling, and an agent will not charge you a dime
No.
because
Yeah.
if they don't recognize the amount of unending talent and ability that you have, they're goofy. So
Yeah.
I can put you in touch with a couple that would love to work with you. But
Really?
I think you've got lots of time. Enjoy. Hell, you haven't even been to high school yet. Wait till you get there.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I don't know, that's gonna be like I'm worried like between like schoolwork and writing, like I won't have much time for anything else. I do think I have like I don't know. I'd write for try like an hour every day, and I write 1,000 words every day. So I can probably do that with high school, but often I'll like for one of my books, this is gonna sound insane, but it's called The
No.
Accidental Insurgent, and it was my most recent release, and it's a almost 70,000 word novel, and I wrote it in 16 days. I wrote 4,000 to 5,000 words every day, and then 5 days later, I had done like kind of finished proofreading it, and then it kind of sat dormant until I figured out what I wanted to add to it.
See, you have to forgive us because we're old, and you have the energy that you have is so directly connected to your mind, and you're able to just write 1,000 words a day. This is my 12th book, and you've got all these levels that are pouring out of you all at once. It leaves me in awe. I've got to ask, what inspires you?
I think it's a number of things. Like, I've always wanted to kind of see like my books in bookstores. I want to change the world with my writing, kind of. And it's like I have long-term goals and short-term goals. I think I'm inspired. I don't know. There's like a number of different things that like inspire me to write. It's like not like one sure thing, and it changes too.
So when you sit down to write, are you driven to sit down and write based on a feeling? Is it based on a habit? What is it when you sit down and write? What is the first feeling that comes to you?
Generally it's like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen in this chapter? But I don't generally plan what's gonna happen in the books in advance. I have like basic ideas of what I want to happen next. It's like a lot of people plot their whole books out, and
Yeah.
I've done that like where I add things I want to happen, but I have this very loose outline I follow. So generally, my first thought is what I want to happen, how is this going to be interesting, and what's the worst thing that could go wrong in this story? And usually, I will make the worst thing go wrong.
Excellent. So when you sit down to write, you don't have something in particularly each word picked out. You're going to sit down and the thoughts are going to come to you as you write them. That's your process.
Generally, I have like nothing in mind. Sometimes I'll have like one major scene I have in mind, and it'll usually have to happen like a little later. So I've spent the whole time writing, trying to build up to it and adding scenes, like building up to it. And then like the next day, I'll write that big scene. And then
Gotcha.
that's also a way to make so the story is not really short and kind of cramped together, that it has time for like there be like transition between scenes and scenes that are important, not for the action, but like building character relationships and developing the characters.
Right.
By the
So,
way, for those of just wanted to point out, Eric, that in order to write 1,000 words in an hour, you have to write 16 words every minute. That's every single minute to get that
And
done.
yeah, generally, trying to think. I usually time. It's like sometimes it'll take me 45 minutes to write 1,000 words, or once it took me 30 minutes. That was when I was reading The Accidental Insurgent, which is probably my favorite book I've written. Like, I don't know how I feel about the writing style it's written, because it's in this kind of not exactly vague writing style, but this not like overly detailed, overly descriptive writing style. Like it leaves a lot up for the reader to kind of imagine, but it's like this really fast-paced, awesome like story where literally there are twists and turns every chapter. Something goes wrong every chapter. And that one, I was just writing, and like the story was kind of, I felt like it was writing itself. Like I was just like, this is an idea, and I would just straight up write it without thinking about it. And I was able to do about 2,000 words in an hour, or 1,000 words in 30 minutes. And I ended up doing 4,000 to 5,000 words a day for that book, and that was over the summer.
That's Eric. Can you? I don't think that you can write 1,000
what?
1,000 words in an hour if it was the same word.
It's like good. Two.
That I tell you, have you had, and in all seriousness, have you ever had writing courses? Have you studied writing? Do you do that in school?
So I'm in the creative writing elective at my school, but that's just where I do my writing. I have a writing coach who's really awesome, and she helps me kind of edit and do my marketing. But like I have not taken like writing courses. I used to want to take a college course back at the beginning of 7th grade, but like I've never really had the time to do that. So I don't think I've actually ever taken like a writing like course or anything. But at some point, I am actually going to teach a writing workshop for teenagers. So that's
Yeah.
probably going to be
You,
Oh,
early
very
2024
cool.
too.
you could
Mhm.
teach that for adults right now. I'm telling you.
Probably.
Because you've got a clear, concise message of what you want to accomplish with every book, with every turn of phrase, with every scene that you write. You've already got it mapped out in your head. Do you know how unique that is?
It's like, I don't know. It feels so normal to me, but I do think it's definitely pretty uncommon.
Well, if it wasn't, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you
And
because
speechless. And we're speechless.
yeah,
Trust me.
because I looked at your bio and I said, like Eric said, there has to be a typo here.
That's a typo.
That there's not possible that you could. But on the other hand, I interviewed a young lady. She's 14, singer songwriter, and she's really relevant about what she does as far as singing songs that she wrote a song about the pandemic and stuff. So there are people like you that are out there. It's just remarkable to see somebody like you that is doing this. So if you were to add up all of the sales from all of your books, do you have any idea how many books you've sold?
I've tried. So it's like I generally separate the books like when I've sold them when they were on sale. So probably a couple hundred like that were full price, maybe around that, and around what was it, like 6,000 or something. I feel like bad like saying it because it's a ton. It's like 6,000 on sale books.
Wonderful. Now, who do you like to read? Who are some of your favorite authors?
And when
So
do you have time to read?
Yeah.
I really let's see. So my favorite book is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And I don't know, that author has one other book and I own it. I haven't read it yet because it's really long. I love The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. And in terms of books by an author, like the most books by an author that I've read is probably Leigh Bardugo, who wrote the whole Grishaverse series. And I have read every single book in that series.
Wow.
So you spend a lot of time reading, a lot of time writing. What other things does a 14-year-old girl do?
So I really like doing free running, which is essentially parkour and gymnastics, kind of.
Sure. Oh, sure.
And that's something I really love. I used to do skateboarding, but I kind of had to stop just because it was in the middle of the pandemic and the park was getting really, really crowded. But I I had a skateboard ramp at home, but I ended up selling it just for books so I could do more marketing actually because I really wasn't using it. I'm trying to think, what else do I like to do? Well, let's see. It's like because of the pandemic, so many of my extracurricular activities have kind of slowed. So then I've just been resorting to reading and writing. And see, I do love playing with my cats. I spend when I'm not generally at home when I'm not reading or writing, I'll be with my cats and I'll be like playing with them or giving them treats and stuff. I just like
how many cats do you have? How many cats do you have?
I have 3 cats. One of them, she's really old, but I've literally had her my entire life. She was there before my sister and I were. So, but she kind of lives in my parents' room now because we have 2 other cats and they're a year old. Their names are Apollo and Eclipse. And Apollo is my kitten, Eclipse is my sister's, but like I love them both equally. So, and I'm trying to think. It's like Apollo's the one who I mainly like. Eclipse is all over the place. He'll be running around and stuff. And Apollo's kind of slowly grown a little more like tired and kind of just like chills all day.
Well, and the older cat wants to be in mom and dad's room because the kids are just too much. They're little kittens.
Yeah, she it took her probably about 13 years before she really warmed up to my sister and I. Like she used to run away from. I used to write about her, and she had a twin brother. We had twin cats and twin kids, and she had a twin brother. He died in 2019. But I used to write about both of them a lot, and I have found stories dating back to when I was about 5-6 years old that I wrote about them. It's like The Adventures of Strider and Jasmine.
That's wonderful. Can we hear out of one of your books, maybe a paragraph or two, some kind of an intro? I would love to hear something like that.
I don't have them with me.
That's okay.
I could maybe read actually from my phone if you'd like.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
See if I have them on. Apple Books or anything.
I find this fascinating.
Well, for somebody like you, Eric, that is a writer yourself, and I know that you sweat over every word, and you want to make it just so and stuff, and it's difficult to do sometimes. To have somebody that clearly is gifted, and the words just come through her.
You
It's-
are
it's-
connected, man.
I can read. Let's see if I can load it up. I can read the first paragraph of Biounlock. I'm not going to read the prologue's kind of long and like not is like the first paragraph of Biounlock is. I really like it. So
Cool.
and it's about the point of view of the main character essentially kind of waking up on a day that's very important and also very much could get him killed. So the boy was no more than a number, a hardly spoken name staring up at the boring white walls at his dormitory in the Children's Institute, waiting for a sentence of what would likely lead to his demise. The boy, however, had a name, Griffin. Griffin was ordinary, haunted, and more than thrilled to leave the Institute, especially after what had happened there. He never enjoyed leaving things up to fate, but sure enough, that was his only choice with the Biounlock.
Wow. That is nicely set up.
Thanks. It's like the writing in my books like changed so much. Like I was gonna read originally, I was thinking about reading the opening paragraph for Xylo's Lane, which was the book I published before Biounlock. But that one is a lot more complicated than the Biounlock one. It's like Biounlock, straightforward. There's this boy, his name's Griffin, and essentially he's about to die. So
Oh, good.
actually, that's the opening of a lot. I feel like a lot of my books have characters that are about to die.
They're about to die. Interesting.
Now, do they find a way to survive in
Yeah.
your books? Okay.
They'll find
Good.
most of my characters they'll find these like narrow ways to survive. Or like I have one scene in one of my books where their characters are in this building, actually just a small house, and it's burning, and the door is like blocked, and they have to climb out of this like broken window while the flames are like right there, and that scene was pretty insane. I think my dad just got to that part in the book, and he was telling me like, "Why do you torture them?" And I was like, "Oh, that's my favorite part."
Dad, they're not real. They're fictitious.
See, he's worried what's going to happen to him when he gets in the nursing home. That's the sentence right there. What do I have to look forward to?
And speaking of which, what are you looking forward to? You've accomplished so much in such a short time. What do you want to do with yourself? I know being a writer is one thing, but if you could wave your magic wand and look forward 20 years, where would you be?
I think I'll be still writing first, but I think I might be I want to help people. I want to help victims of bullying and stuff like that. I want to I guess I want to help people, and I want to change the world with my writing. Like I read a book from the author of the book Speak. I don't know if you've heard about that one. It's called Shout. And she was talking about how she goes and she speaks to schools about sexual assault, and she goes and speaks to children. And I think that would be something I want to do about bullying, and actually that topic too, because that's a part of You Won't Know Her Name too, of that poetry book. So I want to speak to people about my books. And I think I want to help people. I think I want to help other teenagers be able to write their first books. I've spoken to a few people a little older than me and around my age, like I want to write a book. And of course, that's a thought a lot of people have, but they just don't have the time to do it, or they don't have the motivation to do it. And I think it's entirely possible. I'm here. I did it. So I want to help other people be able to achieve that too.
Eric, have you got what's on your mind?
Well, I'm tempted to call her because, I've finished a children's book and I've got the illustrations, and I'm looking at a program on how to, self-produce the book, self-publish the book. And there's always that, probably other writers. What's that? What's that?
There are ways to do that. So do you have illustrations?
Yes. A friend of mine did the illustrations, and they're wonderful.
I mean, what you could do is, this is going to sound kind of insane, but the program Canva, I've known authors that have done that, or not Photoshop, something similar to Photoshop. I'm blanking on the name, but Adobe has one of those. It's like Canva's free though, and you can upload illustrations and format the text and get a print PDF of it. I think I've tried to do that. I did a children's book while I was still writing Biounlock, and it was about my cats, but I reached out to an illustrator who could not work with me because I was 12.
Really? They wouldn't work with you because you're 12?
I've had a design. I don't know. I haven't had that many designs. Like normally, I said my age, and I was like, I am 12 years old, and I'm writing a book. And it's like because of you have to sign a contract and stuff. I could not do it. But it's like I can get my parents to do it. I think generally it's not that big of a deal, but I think it's also like maybe they didn't want like me to do that without my parents' permission because it's like that involves spending money, and they don't want this random 12-year-old to just pay them, and then the parents are like, "Wait, you weren't supposed to do that. Give me the money back."
Yeah, I get that part.
Well, at 14, you're only going to be 14 for a very short period of time, and then soon you'll be 18, and then you'll be able to be the master of your own ship and write your own contracts and do whatever you need to do. But it sounds to me like your parents are being very supportive and are working with you. Are they as amazed as we are that you're able to do this?
Yeah. They're pretty much everyone I've talked to has been like really impressed. I've had people not believe me and like say that they thought my parents did that for me and wrote all the books for me. It's like it's not true. It's not as difficult as it seems to sit down and write. It's like I had a teacher like think my parents did it for me. And that was just
Really?
And like yeah, I had it was a math teacher who was not very supportive of my writing, and I was like, okay, who wrote this book for you? Because I had this 800-page manuscript of Biowalk, and I brought it to school one day to show my friends, and because we have reading time, and I wanted to kind of annotate the book because I was doing these annotations to add stuff to it, and kind of remove stuff. And he was like, okay, who did this for you? You didn't do this yourself. And I was like, I did. He kind of argued with me about it for like 5 minutes. But
wow.
No, I did it myself. I can prove I wrote the book,
Yeah.
That's too. I on behalf of adults everywhere, I apologize for that. That man was short-sighted, and he should be celebrating the ability that you have and encouraging you to do more with it. Because I'm so glad to hear you say you want to help people. And to help bullying and get that hopefully down so that kids don't have to deal with that. I would ask you if it's worse now than it used to be, but how would you know?
It's like so in terms of like I've had that person do things to me since. She hasn't physically touched me, which is good. She hasn't, choked me or done anything like that, because that's what happened 2 years ago and it was traumatizing. I'm still working to try to get over what happened, and it's like I've been using it. It's like it's been getting better in terms of that person is still doing things to other people, and I think I get that they don't want to explore, but like they need to help this person learn not to do it, in the sense that they need to punish this person, and they also need to not, like, I had a conversation with this person, like with a teacher, like a person administrator at school there, who let this person deny everything and say, you made this up because you hate me. And it wasn't stuff that happened to me. It was stuff that happened to my sister, that my sister wasn't there to be able to say, no, you did that. And that was horrible because they let it happen. They were like, okay, we hear you. We're listening to you. Your opinion is valid, when all she was doing was trying to pretty much make me think I was insane, and that none of it happened, even though I learned about it while I was actually used to be friends with this person, and I learned about it while I was still friends with that person. Except what happened to my sister, isn't my story to tell, so I don't want to go too much into detail about that. But
I know, I understand. And at one point, your sister does need to stand up for herself. But
she's good at that.
Okay. Oh, good. By the way, do you have a website that we can reference for you?
I do. It's shantihershenson.com, and I just updated it recently. I had forgotten to change the Axel Insurgent from pre-order to purchase now. So it's like I changed it, I fixed it, and I have all of my press and stuff on there. So I'll also post this interview on my website.
Yay.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. That would be awesome. So Shanti, Eric, her last name, please.
Hershenson.
Thank you.
Shanti Hershenson.
Shanti Hershenson. You're going to, you're going to be very famous one day.
Yeah, I'm looking
I
forward
hope
to
so.
this.
Thanks.
We'll be thinking about you for quite a long time. We're keeping our eye out for your name.
Now, did you read Harry Potter?
I read parts of it. I haven't actually read the whole thing yet. Let's see. I know my sister read it. She's a very good reader. She reads a lot too, and I know she read it a few years ago, and I kind of read a bit of it with her. But like, I'm trying to think, what was I reading like when I was like 8? Do not remember what I was reading when I was 8. I have a whole shelf of books I read around that age.
I was reading the Sunday
Honestly.
comics and then taking a break.
I was reading about Archie and Jughead.
Yes.
Did you know who those are? Those are good. Those are
I've seen the comics. Like, I don't think I've read them, but I've seen like the comic books.
Oh, good.
Oh, I tell you what, it's so frightening. You are an honor to talk to.
Thank you.
I am absolutely thrilled to be able to sit here and talk with you, because you're a prodigy and you've got your head on straight. I'm sorry that you were bullied, but one of the reasons that you wrote an 800-page book is to hit her over the head with it if she bothers you again.
It's true.
Make sure it's a hardcover, because you don't deserve.
I'm getting hardcovers of some of my books now. Yeah, it is like, I'm going to make this change. I'm going to make sure that this happens.
Awesome.
There's a lot of really, like, if you or anyone who's watching this reads You Won't Know Her Name, you will be horrified. Like, I have had adults read it and be like just absolutely horrified, but they thought it was a good book, so that made me happy.
Well, it's got. I hopefully this child, whoever this child is, will get some counseling, and her parents will help her realize that being a bully is not the way to go. It just isn't, and eventually she's going to wake up and realize that she's been a horrible person, and hopefully she'll be able to make the corrections. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you would like to tell our audience before we let you go? And thank you so much for taking the time. You could have written 1,000 words in this time.
I know. I feel like we kind of held her back.
Would you? Can I ask you a personal favor? Every time you publish a book or you get a new book out, can you come on my show so that we can talk about it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would love to follow your career, to see where you go.
You.
I'd love to meet you, and I'd love to meet your parents. Tell your mom and dad I would love to do a podcast around them as well, because they're like, it's like holding a tiger by the tail is what they've got in you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I'll tell them.
It's obvious your parents have a good handle on what happens in the world. Just talking to you.
My parents are really cool.
Yeah, just talking to you, you can tell that you understand a lot of things that most people take a long time to learn, regardless of age. It takes a long time to learn some things. And you've got a great handle on things.
Yeah.
And it's such an honor to talk to you. This is why I brought up the word prodigy. And Kevin talked about another one, Bolo sings. And you're in that category. We're so happy that the generation that you're in is coming up 2-3 generations behind us. But it makes us feel more comfortable with the world and what we're going to eventually leave behind. And knowing people like you are out there is just, that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
It's
you're going to, you don't think anything less than the fact that you can change the world. Because you can.
Thanks. Yeah. Like, I'm going to change the world.
Yeah, I can see it.
Do you know that there are people that are twice my age that can't even say that? They say, I would hope to, I think I might, it would be great if I could. And you already have it down by saying, I will. and that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And Shanti, it's been such a pleasure having you here. Is there anything you'd like to tell our audience? Anything at all that you'd like to tell our audience?
Not sure. I don't think so.
In 1,000 words or less. Would you like a pen and paper?
You can write it down if you want.
I'm not even sure I can speak 16 words a minute and be coherent.
Only thing I can think of is that I'll have a new book coming out, hopefully by the end of November, if not early December.
Yes.
How many pages is that one?
Oh, it's only about 100 pages. It's in novella, and it's for my Zyle Delane series, and it's the third book in the series, so it's like the last one for a bit. And it's this really epic kind of ghost story, like fantasy story, and it's like I've been working on that series since while I was writing Biounlock, actually a little before in some parts. So I was thinking about it, and it's like finally coming to an end. But now I'm writing a new novel that's related to that series. So.
Fantastic.
Do you have kids that are friends of yours that have read your writing and read some of your books? Are they waiting with bated breath to get the new episode out?
It's like some of them, and I have all my relatives are really, really supportive and are probably waiting to read. I end almost all my books on these really, really horrible cliffhangers. So got a lot of people waiting.
There's a guy I want you to meet. I haven't met him yet either, but if I ever run across him, his name is Steven Spielberg. I don't know if you know who that guy is, but he did a series called Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was like in the 1930s serial style, which is kind of what yours is. And at the end of every episode, there was a cliffhanger that had made sure that people tuned in to see if the hero was going to get his arms chopped off or whatever is going to happen to him. So, it's a great style of writing. Keeps people coming back for more.
It's like, regardless on whether or not they like the book, which if they liked it at least a little, then they're going to read the next one and the next one until I decide to give the reader a little pause. But even still, even with the third book, spoiler-ish, it's still like there are definitely going to be more books. Like it may close some things off, but it's also opening more possibilities.
Excellent.
That's just
actually all of them.
Excellent.
Even the ones that aren't supposed to have sequels do that.
Wow.
That is
Good
just
for you.
That is
It's
just
like
phenomenal.
Even the book I wrote about bullying offers at the end a hope for the future. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to write a sequel for that book, but it's like that one is just even though I don't want to write a sequel, it has like the opportunity. It's like just basically has this call to action for like change kind of and how things need to change. And I think that part was like excellent about it.
I can't believe that you haven't taken any writing classes and you're talking about calls to action and stuff. It's like, you're amazing. That's all I can think.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
You're the coolest 14-year-old I've met this week.
Thank you.
I don't mean many 14-year-olds, just so you know. But are you sure there's nothing else you'd like to add?
Don't think so.
We're
Eric?
going to look forward to having you back. This is exciting. It'll be fun to see what you do and how often you do it. You know, you're like your own book of the month club.
I think it's like I'm going to either do one book per month or one book every other month.
That's dynamite.
Where do you come up with it? Before we go, I just got to ask you, where do you come up with all the ideas?
Oh, they're random things. Like I had one today based off of the, like just I can't remember what it was. It was like a writing prompt that I completely changed into this ridiculous thing and wrote it in my math notebook today, which I might have left at school. So my teachers are getting to read my new writing idea. But it's like I just see random things and I'll be like, this could be a book. And even if it's like a horrible, horrible idea, I'll still write it down. And some, not all of like my best books have been that.
Now, do these ideas just like pop into your head?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. And I'm trying to think, which ones did I like? I'll like write down, like I had one, I kind of had this really weird, crazy dream, and I was like, this needs to be a book. And I didn't start writing that, but I did plot just a little bit of like the characters and things. So one of like so that one might happen. I'm trying to think, where did the so my Xyle series, which is probably one of my most popular ones. It's a series of novellas that's are like giant cliffhangers, and that was just like kind of based off like a feeling of both like nostalgia but kind of fear and sadness kind of combined, and that's what that one was kind of inspired by.
You just said the right word, that you get inspiration. Don't know where it comes from, but I tend to think it comes from somewhere on the other side, and they're saying to you, you're just, this is for you to write. So, and you're so good, and we
And it's
appreciate
like
having you.
occasionally there'll be like real events like with the bullying where it's like I want to help people, so I'm going to like write a book about bullying. That one I had plotted that book for so long and like written different first chapters, and eventually I just decided I am going to tell this in poetry. And fun fact about that, none of the characters have any names. Like the girl and her sister are the two best characters in the story. I got my sister to read the book and she loved it, so she can go with me to some like events and like speak about it with me. And none of the characters have any names. It's like the girl, the person, the principal, the vice principal, the teachers, and it's all like it still tells the story perfectly. And it's like nobody has a name. The parents don't have a name. It's just the mom, the dad, and it's all in these like kind of short, kind of almost poems that like seem like they could be written by someone that's like 11, which is the age of the characters. And it's also unclear who is telling the story.
That's brilliant.
Mhm.
Eric,
Looking
why
forward to
why did you do this when you were 11? You and I
I
could be rich
know.
today.
I know, right? I know. It was the comic books.
Yeah. Shanti, thank you so much for being here. And your
Thank you,
website
Shanti.
again, if somebody wants to go check out your works and buy some, please buy some.
ShantiHutchinson.com.
ShantiHutchinson.com, and you can go get the regular books and hardcover and stuff like that. So
The
one of
regular
these
books
days,
are on Amazon, and some of the paperbacks have made it. I had some paperbacks on Walmart.com for a bit, and the hardcovers are pretty much everywhere online you buy books. I'm working on the bookstore stuff because I'm looking forward to doing book signing bookstores carry my books.
oh, that's
Awesome.
just awesome. I hope with the help of your parents, you find the right agent who is going to be somebody that's going to take you and put you in the right places. And I couldn't wait to see a screenplay by you, because I bet you it will be dynamic, and you could end up you could be in pictures
These
in
are-
the movie.
This is a great
It's like, I
website.
wrote a few screenplays, but at some point, yeah, I want to write a movie. I want to write the movie adaptations for my books too. So
Oh, that would be awesome. Do you want to be an actress? Would you like to star in some of your books?
I think I want to make like cameos as like different characters, but like I don't know. I acted in the 4th grade play. Don't think that's enough acting credentials to star in my own movies, but I think
I don't know.
it's
You
like
didn't
the
need
one
much to become an author,
I
did
think
you?
would be the one book that I think would be a really good movie is you. Okay, how would it?
Oh, come back.
Oh no.
Up,
Oh,
oh, there she is.
Kind of
good.
there. Okay, yeah.
You're back. But by the way, do you know who Stephen King is?
Yeah, he wrote a bunch of horror books. Let's see. My parents
He
had
also-
me watch The Shining and Misery with their
Really?
movie adaptations because they're about authors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and well, he also
They're pretty
does
scary.
cameos in his movies. He never's the star, but he also always figures out a way to put himself in there for a small character. So that could be fun for you.
Mhm.
So, Shanti,
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here. And your
Awesome.
website one more time is.
ShantiHutchinson.com.
And we will be in touch. Will you email me the next time when your book comes out at the end of November or whenever it does? Can you email us so that we can do this again?
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. You have yourself. So now, what are you going to do for the rest of the day?
So I have to go back to school after, and I'll finish up my school day, and I'll come home, and I'll probably write and kind of chill out.
Very cool. Did you take off school to do this interview?
Kind of. I left school for an hour. It's like I have to go get lunch after this. So it's like I left school at around 12:30, which was in the middle of my fourth period, but I'm going to catch up on all the work. And then I'll probably go back to school around 2-ish, not around 2-ish, but like after I get lunch at 2:30. And I'll probably, because I have electives after that. So I'll probably check in with my teachers, then do my elective.
What kind of grades you getting?
I get pretty good grades. It's like mostly A's. I don't know. I don't like having like terribly low grades. I don't know. It just stresses me out.
I don't blame you. Good for you.
You have to tell your math teacher that we said hi.
And then this year I have so that was in 7th grade. This year I have a really cool math teacher. So it's
good.
My math grades are also now looking at, mainly it's like my humanities grades. They're generally better than like my math ones. But like this year it's like I have a super cool math teacher. So my grades are doing really well.
Excellent. Oh,
awesome,
glad to hear that.
Shanta, you take care of yourself and tell your folks we want to have them on to talk about you.
Yeah.
So that would be fun. You have a great day. Enjoy your lunch and enjoy the rest of your school day. Stay right where you are. Stay right where you are. I've got to do this, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we got. See you next time on My Independence Report.